Michael Jackson, the world-renowned king of pop, was not only one of the most gifted entertainers in history, but also one of the most financially complex. His story is a paradox, a man who earned hundreds of millions of dollars during his lifetime, yet died heavily in debt. He was a superstar who made some of the savviest investments in music history, but also spent money faster than it came in. And in a remarkable twist, Michael Jackson became even more financially successful after his death, with his estate earning billions in the years that followed. The journey of Michael Jackson's net worth is a compelling tale of astronomical highs, devastating lows, and an extraordinary posthumous rebirth. This essay explores, in detail, the rise, collapse, and resurrection of Jackson's financial legacy. In the late 1970s and throughout the 1980s and early 1990s, Michael Jackson stood at the pinnacle of pop music. After the release of Off the Wall in 1979, Jackson began to establish himself as a solo artist with an unmatched commercial and artistic vision, but it was the 1982 release of Thriller that turned him into a financial juggernaut. The album sold over 70 million copies worldwide and became the best-selling album in history. With each subsequent release, Bad, 1987, Dangerous, 1991, and History, 1995, Jackson raked in tens of millions in album sales, tour revenue, and royalties. Jackson's earnings during the 1980s were staggering. At the height of his career, he was earning more than $100 million annually, thanks to his global tours, product endorsements, music publishing rights, and merchandise. His Bad World Tour, 1987-1989, grossed over $125 million, while his Dangerous World Tour brought in hundreds of millions more. The 1984 Victory Tour with his brothers also grossed $75 million, though Jackson donated his share to charity. One of his most strategic financial decisions came in 1985, when he purchased the ATV music publishing catalog, which contained over 250 songs by the Beatles, for $47.5 million. At the time, many questioned the wisdom of such a purchase, but it proved to be one of the greatest investments in music history. The catalog became the crown jewel of his financial empire and later merged with Sony Music Publishing to form Sony/ATV, a move that nearly doubled its value and guaranteed Jackson millions in royalties for years. Despite earning what most people would consider an unfathomable fortune, Michael Jackson also developed a reputation for extravagant and excessive spending. He built Neverland Ranch in the late 1980s, an estate that included a zoo, amusement park rides, a movie theater, and staff quarters. The property cost between $17 and $30 million to construct and required millions annually to maintain. Jackson's tastes went beyond real estate. He reportedly spent millions on antiques, jewelry, art, and designer clothing. He once dropped over $5 million during a single shopping trip in Las Vegas. One of his most strategic financial decisions came in 1985, when he purchased the ATV music publishing catalog, which contained over 250 songs by the Beatles, for $47.5 million. At the time, many questioned the wisdom of such a purchase, but it proved to be one of the greatest investments in music history. The catalog became the crown jewel of his financial empire and later merged with Sony Music Publishing to form Sony/ATV, a move that nearly doubled its value and guaranteed Jackson millions in royalties for years. Despite earning what most people would consider an unfathomable fortune, Michael Jackson also developed a reputation for extravagant and excessive spending. He built Neverland Ranch in the late 1980s, an estate that included a zoo, amusement park rides, a movie theater, and staff quarters. The property cost between $17 and $30 million to construct and required millions annually to maintain. Jackson's tastes went beyond real estate. He reportedly spent millions on antiques, jewelry, art, and designer clothing. He once dropped over $5 million during a single shopping trip in Las Vegas. His staff payroll, security expenses, legal fees, and global travel added up to tens of millions per year. At one point, Jackson was reportedly spending between $20 million and $30 million annually, regardless of whether he was touring or releasing new music. Though he was generous to charities, donating an estimated $300 million throughout his life, Jackson's unchecked spending eventually overwhelmed even his immense income. The lavish lifestyle, coupled with an increasingly irregular work schedule, began to take a toll on his finances. In 1993, Jackson faced his first major personal and financial crisis when he was accused of child sexual abuse. Though he denied the allegations and settled the civil suit for $23 million, the case severely damaged his public image and began a period of financial instability. His music sales slowed and endorsement deals dried up. The second round of allegations in 2003, which led to his 2005 criminal trial, further drained his finances. Jackson was eventually acquitted, but by then his debts were piling up. To cover expenses, Jackson began taking loans against his assets, including the ATV/Sony catalog and Neverland Ranch. By the early 2000s, he owed hundreds of millions. He defaulted on loans, was sued by former employees and vendors, and was forced to shut down Neverland Ranch. In 2006, the property was on the verge of foreclosure, and Jackson had to accept a rescue package from an investment firm to save it. At the time of his death in 2009, Jackson's debts were estimated to be between $400 and $500 million. Despite owning valuable assets including his 50% stake in the Sony/ATV catalog, he was essentially insolvent, meaning he owed more than he had in liquid cash. Financially speaking, Michael Jackson died broke. In one of the most remarkable financial turnarounds in entertainment history, Michael Jackson's estate became more successful after his death than it had been during his final years alive. His passing on June 25, 2009, triggered a massive resurgence of interest in his music and brand. The executors of his estate, John Branca and John McClain, embarked on a mission to restore and rebuild his financial legacy. As of 2024, the Michael Jackson estate is estimated to be worth between $1.05 and $2 billion. The estate continues to generate income through music streaming and royalties, licensing and merchandising, documentary films and television projects, Broadway shows, e.g., MJ, the musical, investment holdings, including MyJack Music, which owns Jackson's own master recordings, and other valuable publishing rights. His children, Prince, Paris, and Blanket, Biggie, are the primary beneficiaries of this estate, along with contributions to his mother, Katherine Jackson. More than a decade after his passing, Michael Jackson's influence remains unparalleled. His dance moves, vocal innovations, and storytelling through music videos have shaped generations of artists. From Beyoncé to Bruno Mars, The Weeknd to Usher, his fingerprints are everywhere in modern pop and R&B. He was the most awarded artist in history, with 13 Grammy Awards, 26 American Music Awards, and hundreds of other accolades. His albums continue to sell millions. Posthumous releases like the This Is It documentary, unreleased songs, and holographic performances have reignited interest in his genius. Yet, debates about his personal life and the abuse allegations persist. The 2019 documentary, Leaving Neverland, revived questions and controversy, with some distancing themselves from his legacy, while others defended his innocence. Despite the complexities, one fact remains unshaken. Michael Jackson changed the face of music forever. He brought together sound, vision, and soul in a way no one else had. He was not only a performer, but a symbol of hope, of unity, of imagination without limits. Michael Jackson was not just a musician, he was a phenomenon, born into poverty in the industrial city of Gary, Indiana, and rising to become the most famous entertainer on the planet. His life was a whirlwind of brilliance, controversy, tragedy, and transformation. From his days as the cherubic child star in the Jackson 5 to his reign as the global king of pop, Michael's journey was filled with music that united generations, performances that reshaped pop culture, and personal trials that exposed the fragile humanity behind the glittering facade. This essay delves deeply into the life of Michael Jackson, tracing his beginnings, achievements, hardships, and enduring legacy. Michael Joseph Jackson was born on August 29, 1958, the eighth of 10 children born to Joseph and Katherine Jackson, a working-class couple living in a two-bedroom house in Gary. The Jackson family was musical. Katherine played the piano and sang, while Joseph, a stern and ambitious man, organized his sons into a musical group. Michael showed extraordinary talent at a very young age. By the time he was 5, he had become the frontman of what would soon become the Jackson 5. The group, composed of Michael and his older brothers Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon, started performing in local talent shows, quickly gaining attention for Michael's voice, charm, and natural showmanship. In 1969, they signed with Motown Records, and their debut single, I Want You Back, rocketed to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was followed by a string of chart toppers, including ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There. Michael Jackson, still just a child, had become a national idol. Even during his years with the Jackson 5, Michael was pursuing a solo career. His early solo albums, Got to Be There and Ben, hinted at a maturing vocal style and a desire for creative independence. But Motown's control limited his artistic growth. In 1975, the Jacksons left Motown for Epic Records, seeking greater autonomy. The real turning point came in 1979 when Michael released Off the Wall, produced by the legendary Quincy Jones. Blending funk, disco, and pop with infectious grooves and heartfelt ballads, the album marked Michael's transformation from teen idol to serious adult artist. Songs like Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You showcased a dazzling vocal range and rhythmic precision that would soon define an era. Michael Jackson's crowning achievement came in 1982 with the release of Thriller. The album shattered all records and became the best-selling album in history, with estimated global sales exceeding 70 million copies. But Thriller was more than an album, it was a cultural earthquake. It blurred the boundaries between musical genres, united diverse audiences, and changed how the world viewed music. Thriller's iconic music videos, Billie Jean, Beat It, and the 14-minute horror-inspired Thriller short film transformed the music video format into an art form. His performances were mesmerizing, most notably when he debuted the moonwalk on national television in 1983, electrifying millions. Beyond sales, awards, and fame, Thriller also played a role in breaking racial barriers. Jackson was the first black artist to receive heavy rotation on MTV, opening the door for a generation of black performers to follow. Jackson's next two albums, Bad, 1987, and Dangerous, 1991, continued his success. Bad produced a record 5 Billboard #1 singles, including The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, and Smooth Criminal. His music grew more socially conscious, tackling racism, poverty, and injustice. Jackson's humanitarianism was central to his identity. He donated over $300 million to charities and used his global platform to advocate for peace and unity. Yet, the late 1980s and early 1990s brought increasing scrutiny. Jackson's physical appearance began to change, triggering relentless media speculation. He later confirmed he had vitiligo, a skin condition, and had undergone limited plastic surgery. Despite these explanations, tabloids mocked his appearance and labeled him Wacko Jacko, a nickname that deeply hurt him. Then, in 1993, came the first allegation of child sexual abuse. The case was settled out of court, and Michael maintained his innocence. Though not criminally charged, the damage to his public image was profound. Still, he continued to perform and record. His 1995 album, History Past, Present and Future, Book 1, was a mixture of past hits and new songs filled with anger, defiance and introspection reflecting his bruised psyche. By the early 2000s, Michael Jackson was a more reclusive and enigmatic figure. In 2001, he released Invincible, but it failed to achieve the success of his earlier albums. Financial pressures mounted due to lavish spending, declining record sales, and mounting legal fees. He mortgaged his prized music catalog and struggled to maintain Neverland Ranch, once a symbol of his childlike spirit. In 2003, new abuse allegations led to a high-profile criminal trial in 2005. After months of intense media coverage, Jackson was acquitted on all charges. Though vindicated legally, the trial left him shattered emotionally, financially, and publicly. In 2009, in what seemed to be the beginning of a career renaissance, Jackson announced his This Is It concert residency in London. The shows sold out rapidly, and rehearsals began. Behind the scenes, however, Jackson was in fragile health. He was reportedly struggling with insomnia and dependency on medications. On June 25, 2009, the world was stunned by the news. Michael Jackson had died of cardiac arrest at the age of 50. The cause was acute intoxication from the anesthetic propofol, administered by his personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, who was later convicted of involuntary manslaughter. His death sent shockwaves around the globe. A public memorial service, held at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, drew millions of viewers across continents. In death, as in life, Jackson brought people together. More than a decade after his passing, Michael Jackson's influence remains unparalleled. His dance moves, vocal innovations, and storytelling through music videos have shaped generations of artists. From Beyoncé to Bruno Mars, The Weeknd to Usher, his fingerprints are everywhere in modern pop and R&B.